When using regular expressions to match text in JavaScript, named capturing groups can make your regular expressions more resilient and more self-documented. To demonstrate this, I've created a simple regular expression here that will match things that look like email addresses. So here's the string that we're going to be running on, and then the regular expression, which is going to first match the name, and then the address part of the email address. Now, this is not production-ready code, so don't use this actual regular expression, but it's good enough for what we're actually wanting to demonstrate here. Now, when I go and I run this match, you can see that we get an array back with 3 values. The first one is the entire match. The second value in the array is the first capturing group here, so that's the name. And then the third value in this array is the address. If I then wanted to access one of the values from this array, so if I wanted to access the address, I'd go and use the array access syntax here and say brackets 2, and then I can just get back the address, which is example.com in this case. Now, this is fine, but it's also a little bit confusing when we're looking at the code, because we'd have to see that, hey, 2 here is actually meaning the second capturing group. We then have to go back and look at the regular expression to understand what the second capturing group is actually supposed to be. And it's also pretty fragile, because if I went and modified my regular expression, so let's say I also wanted to capture the @ sign, you can see that this is now going to return the @ sign instead of returning the address. I'd have to remember that, oh yes, I'm now actually supposed to go to the third capturing group. So it's a little bit fragile and a little bit hard to understand what the code is actually doing just using the array syntax like this. That's where named capturing groups can be quite helpful, because they let you assign a name to all the individual capturing groups in your regular expression and then access that match based on its name. So let's go back to our regular expression here, and I'm going to modify it to use named capturing groups. So my first capturing group here, which is for the email address name, I'm going to go right after the parentheses and say question mark and then the angle brackets, so 2 angle brackets, and then inside of there I'm going to give the name for the capturing group. So I'll say user here as the first name of my capturing group. And then we're going to go and for the second capturing group here, so the one for the address, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So after the opening parenthesis for the capturing group, I'm going to do a question mark, then the angle brackets here, and then the name of the capturing group. So this can be whatever name you think is going to help identify this. So I'll say something like address. Now when I go and I run the match here, we get back an object that looks very similar to what we had before. So it's still an array. We could still access the capturing groups by index if we wanted to. What's different, though, is that we can also access the capturing groups or the capturing matches by their name. So I could go in here, and on the match result itself, I could say groups. And then on the groups, I can go and access the different values. So in this case, I would say groups.user. And now I can get back the username. Or I could say groups.address and get back the address. Now, again, there are 2 primary benefits to doing this. So the first one is that it makes the code a lot easier to understand. This is a pretty contrived example, but here we can just see that we're accessing the username instead of having to see that, oh, we're accessing the first capturing group and then looking back at the regular expression to figure out what that is. So the code's much more self-documenting here. And then also our regular expressions are much more resilient. So if I went and added an extra capturing group here, when I go and I run this, you can see that groups.address is still going to work because the name has not changed, only the index of that capturing group has changed. In general, I recommend that you use named capturing groups for all but the most trivial regular expression. So that's how you can use named capturing groups inside JavaScript regular expressions to make them easier and safer to work with.